Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There you go. That's better. How many of you are awake? How about a show of hands? How many of you are here today? How many of you are not all here today? Hey, that's kind of scary, right? Good morning. My name is Tim Smith, Chief Meteorologist at Channel 5 News. I'll be your MC for this morning. We are glad to have you here at the 2016 South Texas All Hazards Hurricane Conference. We have an incredible couple of days of stuff planned for you. You've already looked through your program. You see what's going on. There's a lot going on, and we're thrilled that you're here. Just by being here, you're showing that you're passionate about this, and in the next couple of days, I think your passion is going to grow even more. There's so much to do. This conference is just a terrific opportunity for you to network with other folks in the same industry that you're in, folks that have the same passion that you do, people in the emergency preparedness industry. This is an opportunity for you to meet with a lot of folks one-on-one over the next couple of days, and we encourage you to do that. We have almost 1,500 attendees this year, way up from last year, and give yourselves a round of applause for that, because that's you making that happen. We have over 70 expert presenters and more than 60 exhibitors over the exhibit hall. Some of you may have been already over there and seen some of that. So during the breaks, be sure to pop in over there. So your attendance really is a reflection of your willingness to be on the cutting edge of preparedness and all hazards preparedness in South Texas. So we are glad you are here. At this time, I'd like to ask you to rise as we prepare for the presentation of colors by the McAllen Fire Department's Honor Guard, who serve under the direction of Fire Chief Rafael Valderas.
Out. Okay. Hut. Forward. March. Ready? Set. Colors. Halt. Present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please remain standing and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Port. Arms. Post. Post. Calls.
You may be seated. First responders possess extraordinary courage and compassion, which allows them to willingly face tremendous risks to help those in need. Please join us in honoring the lives of all first responders who died in the line of duty in 2015 and those who died in previous years of service. Today, we honor Rosendo Rosie Garcia, who is the TEX Regional Coordinator for Region 3. His career spanned more than 35 years. I'd like to welcome Mr. Dallas Renfrew, who is a longtime colleague of Mr. Garcia, to say a few words.
Good morning, how are y'all? I'll be brief, but I'm extremely humbled to be asked to say a few words about Rosendo this morning. We worked together for 16, 17 years, and as long as you work with somebody, you start to form some really good bonds. And a couple things you may not know about Rosendo that is personal to me, I'm going to share with you today, that I think about him every day. We spend an enormous amount of time working on our devotionals. This happens to be the one that him and I worked with every day when he was at the office, or sometimes he would call. Rosendo had the biggest heart that I've ever known from anybody. He never got excited either. We would always get into an issue or a situation or be deployed somewhere, and realistically he was steady. And I admired that about him. I always, off and on, went to him just to get some steadiness for myself, because he never would get riled. Rosendo did an enormous amount of work with TEEX. I was proud to work for him. I was proud to work with him, and he did a great job for me when he worked for me. Realistically, he was all about the emergency services, whether it was fire, law, EMS, or just anybody that needed help. A couple of things that Rosendo and I would do is he was notorious for sending me food pictures. Now, not just any time. It would be like 2/37, February 18th, or just hundreds of pictures. And when he first started doing that, I asked him, I said, Rosendo, why are you sending me all these pictures? He says, well, because you and I have the same shape. Probably think you like to eat too. So from then on, it became a standing rule. Well, to reciprocate ultimately, I would go and take a picture of something not very appetizing, potentially like a Lunchables or something like that, something frozen solid like a sardine or fish or whatever, and I would start texting him back, and that bond stayed with us for almost 17 years. The fact is, we both enjoy life. We both enjoy food, obviously, and I miss him severely. Even in the extension program today, the 8 regions of TEEX ESTI's extension program, it's a small unit, and there are a couple of extension members here also today that knew Rosendo, so please ask them if you want to know a little bit more about him. I guess to close, ultimately, we bonded pretty close, and up to the point where we would just say, love you, mean it. That was kind of like just a hug between employees or emergency responders, and I miss him every day. So I value this opportunity to speak to y'all, and I would close with telling Rosendo that I love you, mean it. Thank you.
Forward, march. Ready, face. Present. Arms. Order. Arms. Ready. Please. Forward. March.
Please be seated. What a beautiful ceremony, what a reminder of the risks that everybody here takes every time we have an issue, a hazard of some sort, whether it's a hurricane or some other sort of hazard. And boy, we appreciate everybody who's part of what we do. So thank you for your service. Next up, we have for our invocation and our welcome, the mayor of the city of McAllen. Mayor Darling is an Air Force veteran and graduated from Baylor University and the Baylor Law School. He moved to McAllen in 1978 and within months became McAllen's top lawyer. He served the city for 29 years, left briefly in 2006 to become general counsel for Doctors Hospital at Renaissance. When he returned to the city of McAllen, he was voted in as the commissioner for District 6. He's held dozens of leadership roles throughout the community and government boards, including the Boys and Girls Club, and he's currently president of the Rio Grande Regional Water Authority. In May 2013, he was sworn in as the city of McAllen's 20th mayor. Please welcome Mayor Jim Darling.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning. And isn't it wonderful to see the color guards from the various fire departments out here? And they did a fantastic job. I want to personally thank them, and I'm sure you all do too. So let's give them a round of applause, please. I'm always surprised that we have bagpipe members here in the valley. I grew up in upstate New York, and it was pretty common to see that, but a lot of our departments have them. I know the Border Patrol has them. They do a great job. I'm thankful. I don't think we have one in McAllen. I don't think the chief allowed them to practice in the facility, but anyways, I think they do a fantastic job, and it's very nice to be able to see them. Well, welcome to McAllen. We're very proud to have you here. We're very proud of our Rio Grande Valley. For those that are in the valley, hope that you enjoy all the amenities that we have to offer. This is a great, great program. As Tim said, I work for a hospital, and so I'm remotely involved in preparedness for unusual events. In fact, we just had a mass shooter event at the hospital where we practiced that, and it really opened a lot of people's eyes as to you need to be diligent all the time. It doesn't matter what time of day, what place it is, whether it's a large city or small city, you never know when first responders are going to be required. So I appreciate all that you do. I'm the president of the Council of Governments this year, and I can sincerely say that on behalf of all the elected officials in the Valley, that we appreciate what the first responders do. We know that day in and day out you are there to respond on behalf of our citizens, no matter whether it's a hurricane or it's a terrorist event, could happen anytime, whether it's an infectious disease outbreak, whether it's a flood, whether it's a fire, whether it's all those things that we have to be prepared every day to make sure that we meet the requirements and needs of our citizens. So it's a great program. I'm sure you're going to have a great time in it. You're going to learn a lot. It's a great chance to talk and meet other people and to network on providing for the great public service that you provide our citizens. So welcome to McAllen. Have a great convention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, we want to welcome all our emergency responders, all first responders, law enforcement officers, as well as city, state, local, and federal employees, and of course all of our government leaders who are here today. This is the 4th annual South Texas Hurricane Conference organized by the Hidalgo County Health and Human Services, Hidalgo County Emergency Management, the City of McAllen, the Texas Department of Emergency Management, with primary funding from the Texas Department of State Health Services, and we appreciate everybody who's part of this. We'd also like to thank all of our sponsors who have contributed to the event, especially our platinum sponsor for the 2nd year in a row, Siddons Martin Emergency Group. Now they're going to be hosting the Collaborate, I like that, Collaborate lunch reception happening today in the exhibit hall. Free food. Yes, there is a free lunch. Can't beat that, right? And it's a chance to network and collaborate with all your friends and folks you meet. Plus, you're going to have award-winning music from the La Jolla ISD Los Lobos Mariachis. That itself is worth the price of admission, and it was free, right? But still worth the price of admission. We also have Border Buttermilk Reception this afternoon. That's at the McAllen Convention Center, or hosted by the Convention Center and Visitors Bureau. That'll be at 4:30 this afternoon in the exhibit hall. And then the CPR reception at 3:40 in the exhibit hall. We're going to be giving out door prizes, but you do have to be present to win, so don't go anywhere. Tomorrow, a lot of great things you'll need to know about. The South Texas Ebola and Infectious Diseases Summit from 8 a.m. to noon. That's right here in the Grand Ballroom. The UTRGV School of Medicine will host the South Texas Integrated Team Collaborative Collaborative for Health from 2:30 to 4:30. That's also here in the Grand Ballroom. And in Ballroom C and D, down the hallway, Edinburgh Fire Chief Sean Snyder is going to present Help, I'm Stressed. You don't want to miss that. That's 9:25 to 10:25 a.m. Now, during the conference, we know this is an age of social media, right? Who's tweeted so far this morning? Oh, we got to do better than that. 1, 2, I can count them on one hand. Okay, by the time I'm back up here, I want to ask again, I want everybody to have tweeted at least once, all right? If you tweet. If you don't tweet, let's learn. What do you say? We got a couple of handles for you at Twitter, at STXAHC, South Texas All Hazards Conference, and at Hidalgo County. And they're going to be posting pictures throughout the day as well. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you should use the hashtag STXAHC2016. That's South Texas All Hazards Conference 2016, STXAHC, and they'll retweet your post or make sure they get to where they need to be. So, all that done. By the time I'm here, everybody needs to have tweeted at least once if you tweet, okay? You can do that? Does anybody here tweet? Ever? Okay, I'll need all 7 of you by the time we're back up here to do it again, all right? All right, next up is our next speaker, and we want to welcome from the Hidalgo County Judge's Office, our County Judge Ramon Garcia. He's presently serving the 3rd term as Chief Administrative Officer for the County of Hidalgo. He is an honors graduate of the University of Houston Bates College of Law in 1972 and became a member of the State Bar of Texas in that same year. During his tenure, he's been instrumental in the passage of the 2012 $184 million drainage bond The bond, which passed with over 75% of the vote, will improve drainage infrastructure throughout the county. He's been recognized with multiple awards, including being voted as the 2011 Texas Super Lawyer, and he was voted as one of the top 100 trial lawyers for 3 years in a row. His vast community service has earned him the 2005 Governor's Humanitarian Achievement Award, and he received the 2013 Pillar of Success from UTPA. Please welcome Hidalgo County Judge Ramon Garcia.
Thank you, my friend. Good morning. On behalf of Hidalgo County, I want to welcome you to this 4th annual South Texas Hurricane Conference. As you know, hurricane season starts on June 1st and goes on until November 30th. However, as our MC can tell you, weather is unpredictable and it doesn't take a hurricane to wreak havoc on our area. We learned that lesson last year when rain caused major flooding in 2 parts of the county and throughout the valley. Northern Hidalgo County was hardest hit in the weather event of the spring and early summer, and eastern Hidalgo County was hit by the fall storms. Those events prove that rain can cause just as much damage as hurricanes. Damages from those 2 rain events cost our county an estimated $11 million. The county's budget office reported nearly $9 million was spent on emergency protective measures and road repairs. On a positive note, those 2 major disasters last year also provided an excellent example of how our county can come together in the spirit of solidarity during times of crisis. The affected precincts were not only assisted by the commissioners and staff from our other county precincts, but they also received assistance from area cities. The South Texas Hurricane Conference has grown every year, both in attendance and in the scope of the program. There were 591 attendees at our first Hurricane Conference in 2013. Since then, attendance has grown with 815 attendees in 2014 and 1,301 attendees in 2015. And this year, the conference organizers tell us that we are expecting more than 1,500 attendees, making the 2016 South Texas Hurricane Conference the largest of its type in the state. That growth is reflective of the quality of the program and training that is offered. It also reflects your commitment to the safety of the communities we serve. As the conference has grown in attendance, so has its scope. We recognize that emergencies come in many forms and from various threats, from infectious diseases to industrial accidents and worse. We woke up Tuesday morning to the news of the terrorist attacks in Brussels, Belgium. By the end of the day, all U.S. and state flags throughout the country were flying at half-staff in honor of the victims. In issuing the flag proclamation, President Barack Obama said, "We will do whatever it takes, working with nations and peoples around the world to bring the perpetrators of these attacks to justice and to go after terrorists who threaten our people." There is no doubt that we are at war with terrorists. Attacks can happen anywhere, at any time, and from any source. From weather to infectious disease, from accident to premeditated, from home to originating in other parts of the globe. So we must be ever vigilant, and especially our frontline emergency workers must be prepared for all hazards. With Ebola in the news last year and the Zika virus this year, the Infectious Diseases Summit scheduled during this year's conference is not only timely, it is extremely important. This conference has developed a great reputation for its effectiveness, thanks in great part to its organizers, the Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Department, Hidalgo County Emergency Management, the City of McAllen, and the Texas Department of Emergency Management. I want to thank the conference committee for putting together this program, and I want to thank the Texas Department of State Health Services and other sponsors for funding the conference so that it can be offered at no cost to you. I would also like to congratulate the members of McAllen Memorial's High School Student Council, known as the Leadership Class, who are working as volunteers at this year's conference. These 14 students are learning firsthand about emergency preparedness. If there are any Memorial High School students present, please stand and allow yourselves to be recognized. Thank you. These are not only student leaders, they are the future leaders of our county, our state, and our country. Again, on behalf of the Hidalgo County Commissioners Court and all of Hidalgo County, I welcome you to the 2016 South Texas Hurricane Conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate those comments, and we appreciate the welcome. Thank you. Okay, the 7 of you, did you tweet? Okay, I'm going to. Ready? We're going to do a selfie. You guys ready? Smile big. All right, I'll tweet that before I come back up here. All right. Got to keep up, right? You know, it's interesting because I've been to a number of meteorology workshops in the last few months about hurricane preparedness specifically. And at those meteorology workshops, there was very little meteorology discussed. It was all the social media side of it. And say, we as meteorologists have a good idea what's going to happen. We think we do, but that's not funny. Okay. But there's also a lot that we don't know, and we're confident in what we don't know. And it's expressing that and getting that out and getting that message out is what the problem is. So we didn't talk about meteorology, we talked about the social side of it and how you effectively communicate that message. And I think there's a lot of that that's going to be going on the next 48 hours as well, as we talk about how to get that message out. You know what you're going to do, you know what you're going to do, but how do we tell people what we're going to do, and how do we get them to respond? And I think that's a really interesting aspect of it. And we haven't talked meteorology in a meteorology conference in a couple of years. It's all how we convey the message and the uncertainty. So I think it's really interesting. So I'll tweet that in a second. Our next speaker is our Hidalgo County Health and Human Services Director and Chief Administrative Officer. Eddie Olivares has been involved in healthcare for over 25 years, focusing on public health priorities, psychiatric and drug addictions treatment in families and their communities. As the Chief Administrative Officer for Hidalgo County, he's responsible for the implementation of various public health programs and preventative health care, environmental health, communicable diseases prevention, and homeland security preparedness and response. He is a U.S. Public Health Services Primary Care Policy Fellow and has served as president of the U.S.-Mexico Border Health Association, representing all 10 binational states on the U.S.-Mexico border. Please welcome Eddie Olivares.
Well, I tell you what, it's great this morning to have so many friends and cohorts here together. So I want to say good morning. I want everyone to respond with a lot of gusto. Good morning. Good morning. There you go. To me, it's exciting to be here in our 4th conference. There's a lot of folks to thank and give a lot of recognition to, but primarily, you know, we need to honor the life and risk-taking and all the components of what it is to be a first responder for all firefighters, for all police officers, EMS, first responder personnel who respond to the times when everyone is running away from a situation. You got the first responders running into that situation. And so we really need to thank them. And this is dedicated to all of them who all participate in saving the many lives in our community. Again, I want to thank the Department of State Health Services. Today we're honored to have Commissioner Hellerstadt, who oversees all the public health components in the state of Texas. He's joining us here today, and it's a tremendous honor to have him. I'd like to thank also our partners from the City of McAllen and Mayor Darling. And the City of McAllen is a primary supporter and sponsor for us in helping getting this event taking place. This beautiful facility is just amazing. And as you all see, the performing arts facility is being completed, and that'll be going by September. The hotels will be going by April or May of this year. So it's a tremendous location to have a conference and an event, and we really encourage all of you to talk to your professional associations to bring your meetings and conferences to McAllen, Texas, and the Convention Center. This is a fantastic location, and the hospitality is the best in the entire state. We'd like to really support and thank the County of Hidalgo, especially our County Judge's Office and Emergency Management. Our Chief Saldaña, as you all know, is our Emergency Management Coordinator, and Chief Saldaña's leadership has been instrumental in getting all of this set up for us today. And I really couldn't have done all of this without his leadership and mentoring to help and assist with this event. We really want to follow up with our partners that we've had from KEEKS, Texas Department of Public Safety. Today we'll have Chief Nim Kidd, who's confirmed that will be one of the presenters, and Chief Kidd oversees the Texas Department of Emergency Management for the state of Texas, and is regarded as one of the finest leaders in the nation when it comes to emergency management, and we're working closely with them. We'll also have Chief Padilla, the new Sector Chief for Border Patrol, and we're very honored to have him here as well. We work very closely with our federal agency partners. They're an integral part of our day-to-day operation. Border Patrol has done a tremendous job, and Customs have done a tremendous job in providing the homeland security for our borders. As you know, this is a very fluid border, and we're always working on making sure that the optimum safety is part of our community, and a lot of goes to them, and acknowledgement goes to the men and women in green and those in blue who work at our bridge and international ports. From Laredo to Brownsville, there's 16 ports of entry. There's millions and millions of people who cross back and forth every year, and our national safety and security is put on their shoulders to be able to take care of the needs of our country. We also really want to acknowledge the fact that a lot of people don't realize the impact of the population of South Texas. If you're to draw a 2.5-hour radius, a drive of 2.5 hours from McAllen, Texas to Laredo to Corpus down to Monterrey, and just do a circle in that 2.5-hour drive, we have over 12 million, close to 14 million people who live in the 2.5-hour radius of us. There's very few places in the United States that would have that many people living that close, that population density. The reality is our binational partners, this area, this borderland area, is a very fluid and a very interactive area, not only when you deal with it from security, but also economically, education-wise, and working closely with our partners in Mexico. So we need to take that into consideration, and there'll be discussions about that in our breakout sessions as well. We have, this year, we're honored to have Sid and Martin again be our primary sponsor, and you'll be hearing their name a lot because they've been the primary support and help for this event. But we have a lot of student components, and we acknowledge McAllen Memorial this morning, the Judge Garcia did, but we also have La Jolla ISD and their students who are participating, McAllen ISD, Valle Grande Institute, and we have Rio Grande Institute as well. So there's a lot of other volunteers that you see here that are assisting. We have over 70 presenters, and we have registered over close to 1,500 participants. And so over the next 2 days, you'll be seeing a lot of familiar faces, a lot of folks that you'll be working with and taking part with. It's important to understand that this is a regional leadership effort. This does not happen just because it happens. There's been many, many years of leadership training going into this. It's good to see the young people here because they're the future. And for us, it's all about relationship building. I know when I talk to Chief Snyder, or I talk to Chief Bettis, or talk to Chief Lopez, or Chief Rodriguez, McAllen PD, I know that when we talk to each other on the phone, we don't question each other. If they say, Eddie, we need this, you got it. If I call them up and say, I need this, they have it. Because the relationships that we build through these trainings and these conferences, the face-to-face communication we make, are integral to how we respond. When we have John Ovalle calling me on the phone, or I calling John, John doesn't second guess you. John will say, we're good to go. We'll make it happen. So those are the key things that these conferences do. These conferences provide you to have that face-to-face time with each of these leaders so you get to know them and they get to know you, where you establish that trust, where you establish that understanding that when we ask for support, when we ask to respond, we do it. And it's not about how many chief badges there is or how many white helmets there is. It's about the fact that sometimes that person with that chief badge or that white helmet may have to be the one that's pushing a broom or driving a truck or directing traffic. And you know what? There's been hundreds of times we've seen that here. So we all know that we all play different roles.
And the most important role might be the one that's hauling water to drink for those firefighters or police officers who need it. Or the most important role would be to help handle the line in dealing with an evacuation at a hub. And you may be the highest ranking person in the community, but at that second in time, your singular most important job is to do what's been assigned to it and do it to the best of your ability, even if it's not a command position. But you know what? You're taking part in saving lives. And that's what this is all about. This conference is about learning how to save lives. And that's what we encourage. In fact, this year will probably be the last year that we call it a hurricane conference. We're actually transitioning to calling it an all hazards conference. Because today there's other meetings taking place. We have our meetings with our HSAC committee, Health and Human Security, our Homeland Security Advisory Council meeting. We have a meeting with our Border Patrol leadership. They're having a special meeting. We're having a meeting with our DA's office and all the JPs, a special meeting that County Judge Garcia's called to make it happen with the JPs and county judges. We have a meeting with our VOAD group, the Volunteer Group and Recovery Group. We have other special meetings that have been set up to take part in this event, because the reality is that integration is key to our success. And the other part that's real important that we need to look at is our partnership with the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley. The University of Texas Rio Grande Valley, all across South Texas, has taken on a huge role in dealing and developing the future leaders of our community. We are very proud of working with President Bailey and Dean Fernandez and all the UTRGV team. They will be here for a meeting as well tomorrow for the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley Stitch Conference, and they'll be part of this as well. So for us, the integration of services is essential. So from my part is Administrator for Hidalgo County Health, and only one of the team players in Judge Garcia and our County Commissioners Court's team. I am honored to be here. And again, we would like to thank the Department of State and Department of State Health and Human Services for providing the funding and support for us. But primarily, it's you all. Guys, it's you all. You, each and every one of you, make the difference. And I'm very proud to be part of your team. And if, you know, whatever you need, just give us a call. And I push your broom and a mop pretty well if you need some help. So just give me a call, and our team will work and support you in whatever we can. And I'd like to thank Tim. I don't know where Tim went to. Where's Tim? There's Tim, you know, I tell you what, weather, Tim's the man. And then we have Barry Goldsmith also from National Weather. These guys are like the gurus of weather. They're fantastic. So without further ado, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for being here. I look forward to talking to each of you. So thank you and have a good day and enjoy. Barry, we're gurus. Pressure's on now. and Barry, you tweeted. I appreciate that. I've been looking to see who's tweeting so far. And Eye on You Surveillance, thank you for tweeting. Robert Lascano, thank you. We appreciate everybody doing that because it's getting the word out. Let's see if we can be a top trending thing on Twitter today. We can do that if everybody participates. So don't forget, be part of that. Our next speaker today, a very special speaker, is our Health Commissioner, Dr. John Hellerstedt. Dr. Hellerstedt became Commissioner of the Texas Department of State Health Services on January 1st of 2016. Dr. Hellerstedt, who last served the state as Medical Director for the Medicaid and Children's Health Insurance Program Division, left his position as Chief Medical Officer at the Seton Family of Hospitals to join DSHS. A graduate of the University of Pittsburgh Medical School, Hellerstedt moved to Austin in 1981 after completing his residency at the University of Texas San Antonio Health Science Center. He spent 18 years working as a pediatrician at the Austin Regional Clinic, where he also chaired the pediatric department. Following his service with the state, Hellerstedt served as Vice President of the Medical Affairs for Dell Children's Medical Center of Central Texas. Please help me join me in welcoming Dr. John Hellerstedt.
Howdy. My name is...
You have a PowerPoint, correct?
Oh, I do?
Do you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is John Hellerstedt. I am the DSHS Commissioner, and I'm very honored to be here. I'm very honored to be invited to this group. I must say, as a visitor to this community, I am extremely impressed with the pride and sense of community that you all have. It's really quite amazing, and it's something you can feel. So again, thanks for being here. This opportunity allows me to get to meet and know some of you folks. I must also remark that as I was sort of wandering around this morning and watching people get registered and seeing all the men and women in uniform, et cetera, I don't think I've ever felt safer in my life. So this is a good place to be. I do want to get to meet as many of you as I can. I want to learn about what you're doing in your communities in terms of preparedness. And I also want to understand how my department, the Department of State Health Services, can help you in your mission of preparedness. As you know, it has been some time since there was really a major hurricane in Texas. That's a great blessing. But it also means that we can't let our guard down. And it's at these times that we need to be prepared for the next event. And that preparedness, as you know, is what makes us able to respond when the call comes. And as was pointed out too, many of the things that we are asked to respond to nowadays are not limited to natural disasters. This conference is really important because it's going to help each other share knowledge and gain knowledge about the best practices from the experts, and most especially to develop relationships with one another. Eddie talked about trust. I think that's an extremely important concept. I was at a conference one time where they gave a presentation. It was called The Speed of Trust. And it was a story about Warren Buffett. As you may know the name, he's a very successful, very wealthy investor. He and some other guy who was equally wealthy as him, I don't remember the name, but they had some deal that they wanted to put together. And basically they and their entourage kind of met. They just talked about what they wanted. They shook hands and told their folks to take care of it and get it done. And the deal was made really quickly. And the point of that was it was made because they trusted one another. They had developed relationships prior to having to go into what might otherwise be a difficult set of negotiations or a difficult time where you're trying to understand what the other person really wants and get there. The trust that can be built in these kinds of conferences where we get to know each other is really important, because that's what's going to make the response in an emergency happen with the greatest speed and therefore the greatest effectiveness. As you know, as emergency, whoa, what am I doing? Maybe I did that, sorry. Okay, I'm back. Community resiliency is a multidisciplinary approach, and that comes in after the response to the storm, and it involves the restoration of services, repopulating the evacuated areas, and ensuring that hazards associated with the wind, water, and utility interruptions are mitigated. Post-storm, the public health and medical responders must address conditions that, if ignored, might lead to food spoilage, mold, poor sanitation, and other hazards. Our goal, really, from the health department side of it, is to eliminate those conditions and thereby eliminate the chance for disease to spread. This is a critical issue in the sense that our most notorious, if you will, emerging infectious disease threat, of course, is the Zika virus. And I have been asked to take some time to talk a little bit about Zika specifically. We in public health are watching this very closely, and it's something to be taken very seriously. We know of at least 20 cases of Zika in Texas, all of which were directly or indirectly related to travel. So to date, we have had no local mosquito vector transmission of the Zika virus. We have much to learn, though, about Zika, about its basic biology. There are still many unanswered questions, but the potential health consequences to pregnant women are a point of greatest concern, and obviously anything that would harm a developing baby in the womb is something that we want to do our absolute best to avoid. And so we know that the main vector for the spread of Zika in the countries where it is spreading, and it's in most notably in Brazil. Puerto Rico also has a major outbreak of local vector transmission by mosquito of Zika. So it's quite possible for areas of the world, including parts of the United States that have this particular species of mosquito, for the mosquito population to become a means by which Zika is spread. And our efforts really at this point need to be aimed at, if at all possible, completely preventing that from happening, but if it does occur, to be able to recognize it immediately and to contain it as much as possible. But we do know that the Aedes aegypti, a species of mosquito, is native to parts of our state. And I think it's prudent in the sense of emergency preparedness to basically assume that at some point or another we will, in fact, have local mosquito vector transmission of Zika. I think it's a matter of what could we do to, again, postpone that as much as possible, and how can we respond most effectively should that occur. And we are, I can assure you, making plans. The CDC is helping us at the national level, but at the state and level of local and city health departments within Texas, we are all coordinating and planning how to react. The biggest thing that can be done in advance of Zika is really to look for the mosquito breeding habitats, and that is going to require community effort. So it's going out and finding the places where mosquitoes can breed, and in the case in particular of the Aedes aegypti species, it tends to be a species that doesn't travel very far at all from where it was born, so that's good news. But the bad news is it can breed in very, very small quantities of water. So what people need to do for their own property and their own communities is to go out and look for any area of standing water. They can breed in something as small as a teaspoon of water and do their best to permanently eliminate that as a possible breeding ground. That is by far the most effective way to deal with it. Of course, mosquitoes go through a life cycle. They breed, they produce eggs in the water, and then they hatch and they fly around as adults. So when I first became aware of Zika and its potential, I think maybe my thoughts went where your thoughts might go right away, which is, well, gee, how do we spray for the adult mosquitoes? And that certainly has a place. I don't want to say it doesn't. But that is, in effect, you've missed the opportunity to prevent the mosquito population from growing long before that. And the key, again, is to eliminate those habitats as much as possible. If we find habitats that we can't eliminate, we can use certain chemicals that will kill the larvae, kill the eggs. And if you find a place like that, you're able to eliminate hundreds of thousands of potential adults before they get up and fly around, which is, again, much more effective than trying to spray for the adults. We know that also very, very important are the steps that an individual person can take to decrease the number, the chance that they would get mosquito bites. So using mosquito repellent, I think the one that's most studied and most known is DEET. DEET seems to be safe for pregnant women to wear. There's no evidence that it causes any kind of harm in that way, and it can be used on children at least over the age of 2 months, and people should really get used to using it. That may sound incredibly simple, and it is, but like many things that can be quite effective, it is also quite simple. And so the degree to which people can decrease the mosquito habitats in their community to, if necessary, eliminate the mosquito larvae, but also protect themselves and use mosquito repellent, have screens on their houses, and eliminate as much as possible the fact that they would get mosquito bites. That is going to greatly diminish the ability of this virus to spread from person to person. So, of course, the natural cycle of this is an infected person person infected with the Zika virus gets bit by one of these special species of mosquitoes, so not even every type of mosquito can carry it. That virus gets into the mosquito system. The mosquito, it replicates itself, it reproduces in the mosquito, and then within probably 5 to 10 days after that, if the mosquito bites another individual, that individual can become infected. So naturally, if you keep the potential of having that sort of chain reaction takes place, so that there are fewer people that are getting bitten to begin with and fewer mosquitoes available, you can see that you have a very effective means to decrease the risk of Zika. We are preparing public media campaigns for the communities and for individual prevention measures, and I urge you to take advantage of those materials that we are producing and help us spread the message. Maybe someday, before I leave even today, I will learn how to tweet. I don't know how to tweet, but I was in on, we did have our first tweet session. It was managed by folks on my staff who are much more savvy at that sort of thing than I am. We also have a website called texaszika.org where we have further information, which again, you can reproduce any of the flyers or any of the information we have on there. We have been engaged in lots of planning efforts. We've been working with our partners at the CDC. We have also been communicating with local elected officials and communities to take action to, again, delay the introduction of Zika to our mosquito populations. We are preparing a statewide Zika response plan. We are developing laboratory testing capacity for Zika at the DSHS lab. And there are also some other labs within the state that have that. And we're also preparing guidance for who to test and how to test. As you may know, the governor appointed a task force on infectious disease, and we held the first task force meeting about a week ago. I'm the director of that. This task force consists of folks, not just physicians, but also public health officials, emergency preparedness folks, really a cross-section of the kind of folks that are at this conference as well. And our charge is very, very broad, of course. It has to do with all infectious disease threats that are posed by the state. But our first order of business actually was to create a Zika subcommittee, we will be asking them to help review the plans that we have in terms of the response. The response plan will help us to define interventions that local government can take. We will develop communication and education materials. We will talk about Zika testing, and we will also talk about issues related to Zika at the federal level. And I believe that these will, our response will benefit by the creation of that task force and our Zika subcommittee. For the coming months, we will be engaging you and your associations to provide expertise and knowledge. I encourage you to participate as you can in the task force work so that we can produce meaningful and comprehensive recommendations. And again, don't forget the texaszika.org website. And today we're here specifically, among other things, I know it's sort of an all hazards approach, but it's a hurricane conference, and naturally after a hurricane there would be lots of water around and lots of potential breeding grounds for Zika. And I hope that this conference will be an occasion for folks to explore ways to respond and to prevent the mosquito breeding habitats that are the thing we worry about the most with Zika. And I would also encourage you to please let us at the Department of State Health Services know how we can best help you folks be prepared. Our role is really to assist you and to help you with information and expertise where we can. And please let us know how we can improve that partnership. I would like to conclude by saying that it's very clear, again, I'm very honored to be here. You folks are the boots on the ground, and you are the doers, the folks who really are out there performing the tasks that need to be performed, both to prepare for emergency response and actually to carry it out. And I can see your spirit and your dedication to mission. It's really quite inspiring. And I can guarantee you that I will not forget it, and I will spread that message to everyone I encounter. So thank you very much.